It has begun.
Good. Oh, I'm here.
He's giving up now. Oh, he ruined it. Yes, we are here with special guest Mink. And he was meant to be the guy to direct the third Mortal Kombat film after Mortal Kombat Annihilation. And we're going to talk to him today, try and get some information out of him if he can, if he's allowed. So we'll see what we can get from him. So let's welcome Mink. How's it going?
Hey. How's it going, Dave? How's it going?
So how's it going?
Good. How's the weather in England?
Very grey and wet.
I see.
What's new?
So the 70s here in Los Angeles in the sun, it doesn't make you think at all.
I mean, we could try it if you want.
It's quite nice. Sun is quite nice.
Oh, so you're just making us jealous now. I want to get into first where the first time I ever knew about you, and that was on the old IMDb Internet Movie Database platform, when they had the comment section where anyone could comment and make threads.
Yep.
And I remember always sticking in that third Mortal Kombat film, that movie, and all of a sudden it says director Mink, and I'm like, oh, who's that? No one knew who that was. I didn't.
Of course. Why would you know who I was?
But then you start replying to people in the threads, and I was like, is this the guy? He's talking to people. So I thought, I thought I'd do some threads, hoping you'd reply, and you did. You'd replied to some of them, so I was quite not starstruck. I thought the director of the third Mortal Kombat film was talking to me. That's cool. And then obviously they stopped it, and I'm like, oh, I was talking to loads of people on there. It was a really cool place to be at the time. But then you disappeared, and you know, everyone started to leave, you know, that platform because nobody can interact. And then the news of the third film fell through, and everyone just thought, whatever. And then you know, shooting forward to today, you got the new Mortal Kombat film that's come out, and I follow Roundcast, and they interviewed you, and I thought, oh, bloody hell, he's still around. Mink is still around. I thought, right, I've got to talk to him because I remember talking to him on IMDb. So I thought, right, I'll see if I can get sort of an interview with him. And I didn't expect anything because I'm a nobody. I thought, I'll have a go. And then I messaged you on the Twitterverse, and then you put me through to your assistant, and then we're finally here.
Of course.
I got to finally meet you, which is really cool.
I figure anybody who can remember IMDb threads, I probably should at least have a conversation with. You know, at the time, I think whatever IMDb was not, it wasn't owned by Amazon at the time. I think it was an English company that owned it and ran it, and it was a little more independent.
Yeah.
And I just remember, you know, I'd only done a few movies. Most of them are smaller films. But I had the opportunity to do Mortal Kombat. So obviously, you know, your name goes into the database and you're working on it. And the outrage that I was somehow affiliated with this kind of warmed my heart a little bit. I was like, if I can drive this much outrage, there must be something worthwhile here. So I just chose at the time, you know, I do live by the Fight Club rules. Like, you don't talk about Fight Club, and I was under NDA, and you know, but I felt if the questions were genuine and they were insightful, then let's have a dialogue. And that had also come from my experiences at Comic-Cons, because you talk to the fans at Comic-Con and they're asking you questions about, you know, they come up and you're, you know, signing a comic book or whatever. And a lot of times they're asking you questions. So I didn't see anything particularly wrong at it. The outrage towards me being involved in it was kind of fun. But the questions that I got were genuine, and they were thoughtful, and they were imaginative, and they were passionate. And the previous film was 12 years prior to this.
Yeah, I think,
you know,
the rage,
it's kind of a different time.
The rage still continues to this day for some. you know what, for me, but yeah, for me, it's my ultimate guilty pleasure movie. I know there's faults with it. I know, I understand the faults. But for me, it's a movie that if it's on TV at 3 in the morning and I know it's on, I'll watch it because for me, it was entertaining enough. Even though I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan, I know the lore. I know the movie messed up a lot of things, but it was just, for me, some people found it hard to watch, but I found it easy and entertaining. But that's just me. I'm one of the few. But I think on the IMDb boards, it was the outrage of fans. They still feel the anger and the pain from that film and the letdown they feel. And I think that, you know, they needed some assurance that the next film would kind of bring them back on board.
We were trying.
That's what it was. I think that's what it was. But it was just a shame that it all fell through, and hopefully we can get into some of that today. But how did you find your interactions with the fans on there, apart from just the
Phenomenal. It was fun. What was wonderful was I would start to ask questions, right? And then I would be besieged by people who were like, this guy is full of shit. And who is he? And he's made the Steven Seagal movie, and he's terrible. And get away from our movie. And how dare you? And he's made movies and he makes rap videos. And then other fans would rally around what I was trying to do, and they were like, "No, wait a minute, let him say his piece."
Yeah.
And you know,
I'm glad to
really the direct interaction with the fans was great. And fast forward now to 2022. What we were doing then is real now and day to day. And just as you reached out to me on my social media, and I'm like, sure. And just as the Realmcast guys sent me, you know, out of the blue, Realmcast guys were like, hey, do you want to talk about something from 12, 13 years ago? I'm like, well, okay.
I've got to credit them. I've got to credit them for bringing you onto the scene and making me want to get in touch with you again.
That's cool.
You know, it was like one of the moments where I jumped up and thought, oh, Mink is still around. I've got to talk to him again. It was one of them moments. But let's get into this, the Mortal Kombat 3 thing. On the IMDb board, it says that it was dubbed Mortal Kombat Devastation. Now, on the Realmcast, you said it wasn't called that. It was called something else. So what was that? It was
called the working script that I had. And a working script is like, I got the script. I don't know how many versions of the script when I got the script. But the script I was sent, the first script, which came from my agent, was Mortal Kombat Crusade with a K. Why it was called Crusade, I don't recall. The writers at the time, Larry Kazanoff was the executive producer and the creative head of all of it, and Josh Wexler, and they had a writing team, and they had chosen Crusade for a reason. I can't recall exactly why it was. It wasn't technically tied to any of the games, but it was called Mortal Kombat Crusade.
So how many scripts were you given? Can you remember?
Initially I was given one, and then during my involvement with it, I think it went through 3 versions when I was with it. And then I left. And I left subsequently, and then I don't know how many versions after I was not involved in it.
So there's not really much you can... I suppose you can't really say much, but I mean, I suppose when you were given those scripts and you had a look, they were all just called the same, Crusade.
Well, it's a tense. I'm just saying the title of the film that we were going to call this third film was called Mortal Kombat Crusade. That was the title on the script. It was. I was working on the film when the game Armageddon was the game that was in the store, and then. And then Midway was working on the DC and we couldn't see that because it was so secret.
Yeah.
And then Shaolin Monks kind of was tucked in. So Armageddon was the game that was around when we were working on it.
Right.
But Crusade, the script that Larry had written, because Larry and Paul set the bar, right? So they made the first film. So Paul W.S. Anderson and Larry, they made the first movie. I don't think anybody wanted to even see Mortal Kombat, and Larry Kazanoff was the guy that said, I want to do this. It was him. It was him. If Larry didn't bother to do it, there may have never been a Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, maybe there would have, but Larry was... Yeah, but Larry was...
So maybe he went a bit too far with
you have to give credit to where it's due.
Oh, yeah.
Larry approached Midway He approached the guys. He made the movie. Larry went to New Line and put it together. New Line was known for doing horror movies and comedies and stuff. Larry was the guy. So the first film, and Paul was the director who made it great. Those two guys, the two of them, made the movie that has spawned all of the movie stuff.
And still beloved even today.
Yes.
Even today.
So here I was 12 years after this, being asked to be sort of part of this community. And so it was kind of an honor. It was a fantasy film, right? So I really wanted to do a fantasy film. I wanted to do, and it was an action film. I'm drawn to this kind of material. So the fact that the script landed on my desk with a pile of other scripts, I was drawn to it. So I met with Larry and we kind of saw eye to eye of what was capable. And I think Larry understood everything he'd done, the TV shows, the cartoons, the second movie. And now Kevin Feige was heading up the Marvel universe, was kind of starting to unroll. And Larry realized, wow, now's a chance. Batman Begins had kind of shown what you could do with Batman. And Larry realized we can re-envision this. We can redo the movie. So that's kind of where my head was at. Like, okay. And at the time, films that were second, third, and fourth versions of an original film, they were made based on the financing. Were they going to make enough money? They weren't made like today, where it was another James Bond movie. This movie was the third film in an idea that had already been done twice.
Right.
So my approach to it was, okay, let's mix it up a little bit. The script Larry gave me had nothing to do very much with the first two movies.
I was going to ask you, with a name like Crusade, was it anything to do with the first two, or was it kind of like serving as a reboot?
Iffy. As I did on the Realmcast, my lawyers, I didn't want to pay for him to be here today.
Pencils and pens next.
It was a reimagining. So,
right.
And I've said this before. If you look at Batman Begins, right, the Batman story most people are familiar with, but Christopher Nolan did a new version of what it could be, and so. The Mortal Kombat tournament at this point has a certain understanding of it, right? So we're going to re-explain the tournament.
Gotcha. So
in a Crusade way.
Gotcha. So it's skipping the intros before, and it's on the way to the tournament already, and you learn on the way to the tournament. Is that correct?
Well, the TV show, the movie, both movies, the cartoon had put a certain amount of material into the entertainment space.
Yeah.
And Larry had produced it.
The basics.
Right. And Larry had produced all of it. So there was connective tissue.
Gotcha.
So just like today, right? Warner Brothers is making all the Mortal Kombat stuff. So it's all connected now. DC's making, or Disney's making all the Star Wars stuff. So it's all connected. Larry had it all connected. This film was a new story that drew from all of the connected material he'd made. And he had made very smart decisions. He'd made decisions then that categorically today would still be valuable. He made really smart, every decision he made in the script, it was like, okay, well, this is there for a certain reason. So the Mortal Kombat Crusade or 3 or whatever you want to call it, right, would have been reintroducing Mortal Kombat to a new audience, as well as showing what Mortal Kombat is then in 2007.
So it's like the Batman Begins of Mortal Kombat.
Correct.
Nice. So I want to know how you got the gig as director. How was that process? Did you go for it? Was you brought on?
I got the script and I wrote up a kind of a idea of what I thought it could be. And my agent presented me to Larry and he agreed to have lunch. And we went to lunch and he asked me a series of questions we just kind of clicked. He's a good guy and he's very passionate about certain things and we share a lot of common interests. And I think he saw that I understand about the collaboration process, that films like this are a collaboration. Yes, you have a vision, and I had a specific vision of what I wanted to do, but that didn't mean that I was going to fight with everybody in the film. Like I was going to work within the confines of what I was being given, the budget, the schedule, where we had to go, how far we had to go. And also, it was a very ambitious film. You know, the visual effects in 2007 aren't where they are now. And so we had to we were going to build a visual effects studio ostensibly to do the film. And I'd had pretty extensive experience in that world. So I think he saw the advantage there. Yeah, we have the same sense of humor. Some of my casting ideas. Well, Larry, you know, Larry has he's got a kind of a lovely sense of humor about life, and we bonded over that. Yeah. Nice. So it was just the opportunity was there, and he liked me, and I think he felt that for the time I was involved, we could make the movie we were talking about.
He must have saw something new. He must have saw something new to go, right, this is the guy, this is the man.
Yeah, at the time, yes.
So you touched on the cast. Now, I don't know if you can mention anything, but was there any sort of cast members locked down or in mind? You can say no. So it was going to be totally fresh. There was going to be no Robin show.
The original
cast.
Well, I've said this before. I said this on the Realm cast. Larry's friends with all the cast from the original 2 films and the TV shows, and he's friends. They're around. They come in the studio. They have drinks. They have parties. Larry has a dojo that he does martial arts demonstrations in, and people come and watch and have dinner. And we were discussing how we would incorporate the original cast. So if you think of the way Mark Hamill has been included into The Mandalorian, there were ways for us to bring back some of the fan favorites into this film, but it wasn't necessarily saying we were going to take the original cast and bring them in. So there was a conversation that was ongoing.
I'm starting to get the idea that it's kind of like serving as a soft reboot sequel. I'm guessing if you're going to keep some of the original cast. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
no, it's not at all. I understand. I understand from your fan point of view why you would say that, but it's not at all. It's like saying, you know, that's like saying, you know, the J.J. Abrams Star Wars movie is a soft reboot of the Star Wars universe. It's
still sequel though, isn't it? It's still part
but this wasn't. Yeah, but this wasn't. The story that's in the script that we were going to do is not in anything. So it's a different story that's been written about. If there was a tournament that none of the fans knew about, that was never in the game, and a realm that never existed in the games, but we decided to bring that realm and this tournament into it, that's what this film might have been. There was a lot of creative work pouring into it. And it was being done because when you make a movie like this, it's not just one dimensional. It's not just, okay, we're making Enter the Dragon. We were making a film that was going to have all the realms in it. It was going to push the boundary of the effects. We were going to try to do some things that hadn't been done before. And so all of this was kind of on the table. So when you're doing that, the script was in a kind of creative revisionist. So principally, it was kind of like the way they do Curb Your Enthusiasm. The story was in a straight line, but what we were doing in between was being improvised based on what we were doing. So the story was clear. They knew, like, we start here and we go here. But what was happening was subject to all the different elements. If we're going to shoot it in Prague, it may change our approach. If we're going to shoot it in Thailand, it may change our approach. If we're going to shoot it in Hawaii, it may change our approach. If we're going to shoot it in Texas, it may change our approach.
So it could be altered and changed to fit the certain like days and place, but it still would fit into the same mold.
Correct.
Right. Okay, so that's interesting. I've got something here that for some people, and they refer back to the theme tune every time. So I'm just going to ask: would you have kept the original theme tune, or would there have been some sort of other take on the original theme tune?
Yes, but my idea, which was sort of received, I've done a lot of music videos. So if you take the original Lord of Acid, if you take the original Lord of Acid's track, right? So and you take the story, right? So Sega, from what I understand, Sega gave the Lords of Acid the theme song they had from the game and some samples, and they came up with what is in the first film. And that song is actually on the Sega CD if you play the game, which precedes the movie. So the song was around. I wanted to take the same samples and the same song and give it to, at the time, the best DJs in the world and let them remix the tracks, each one of them. And then we would do Mortal Kombat with the song, and each fight would have a different version of the same song.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. And I was met with, get the F out of here.
I think it's because when it comes to the games, especially the first 3 games, Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3, their stage music is still quite iconic to this day. It's still
correct.
So I think people would rather listen to remixes of them for nostalgic value.
Yeah.
So I think that would have been an interesting. But
musically, I'm very musically driven by a lot of the things I do, and I knew there's something called verses now, where Swiss Beats and Timbaland do verses, and they put musicians together and they put their hits together. What I was presenting at the time was verses with the Mortal Kombat universe. I felt that the characters in the game needed to have their own theme songs. Each one of them needed their own specific, and there was producers that loved Mortal Kombat that could push the boundaries of it. Like after I worked on this, I became friends with Junkie XL, who's gone on to become one of the biggest composers in music in films at the moment, and spending time with him well after Mortal Kombat, I realized, listening to him talk about how he went from being one of the biggest DJs in the world to now being one of the biggest composers, I saw the synergy. I saw the synergy of what an amazing DJ can do in cinema. And so where I was with the idea was great. Could we have gotten there? I don't know. But the idea of bringing someone like Pharrell or someone like Timbaland or Dr. Dre into the Mortal Kombat universe just for a visit, just for a visit, just like, hey man, you liked this when you were a kid, like do something special.
Yeah.
I thought that we had, it could have been fun, put it that way.
So you're saying that you kind of like sent out to, like you say, Timberlake and things like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's like Justin Timberlake introduced into the Mortal Kombat world via the music.
It was like, why not have Paul Oakenfold versus Pharrell?
Oh yeah. Oh.
Paul Oakenfold, his version versus what Neptunes would have done with it. Like that was kind of the idea.
Brian Trensu. I don't know if you BT.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, I still listen to his albums even while I'm working.
Yeah.
So, if I get time and the buses aren't around, I'll stick my earphones in and listen to some music. So,
a massive attack take on the theme song could have been incredible.
Ah, nice. I mean, there's about 3 or 4 different versions already, but I mean, you got the new version that's come out now, and I'm not really into the dubstep version. It's to some people's take.
But one second. It's important to whoever's watching this. You can't take this out of the context of 2007. I'm happy to answer these questions, but I'm talking about 2007. I'm not talking about now. I'm not talking about what's been done post that. I was involved with Mortal Kombat from about 2006 to about 2008, and then I left and went on to do other things. And so the window of time is here. So that's kind of where I'm speaking. So I'm speaking from 2007.
It seems like a lot was kind of done within the time that you was involved with it.
Yeah, we were trying to get this movie made.
Hard.
Pushing hard. Yeah,
I mean, with all the information that was coming out, there was a lot of rumors as well, and Even Lyndon Ashby said he was returning. Which
Lyndon was in the office. I mean, it didn't mean he wasn't going to be in the movie, but he was around. He was around, and we had
the cheers he got when he says, "Yeah, I'll be returning as Johnny Cage." Everyone erupted.
There was people around. I mean, Christopher was around, and some of the people from the television series were around, but none of the decisions ever got finalized. So it was all kind of in flux of what we were doing.
Was there any sort of specific things that made it crash?
It didn't crash. Okay. The film was going to cost at the time around $75 million. That's a lot of money, and it's independently financed. The film was not being paid for by a studio. The money was being raised outside of the studio system, and then a studio. And we were talking to 2 or 3 studios. They would release the film and they would put up the advertising money to promote it. Raising $75 million is very different. It's very different from 15 to 20, which is where at the time, most of the films that were done outside of the studio system, that was the price point. So we had a price point 3 times the price.
Yeah, it seems like they really wanted to bring back the fans that were disappointed with the last film, and they really wanted to go bang, here we go, new Mortal Kombat, and we've thrown everything at it now instead of
correct.
And we're going to take our time with it. We're going to get the best people working on it. It's just a shame that it didn't take off.
You're telling me.
Otherwise, if it did, I probably wouldn't be talking to you today because you'd probably wearing your suits and having your spiky hair.
Yes, probably. I'd be directing Star Wars, probably. Yeah.
Oh, is that a hint? That's a hint, isn't it?
No.
Would you go back to, if you was asked, would you go back to the franchise?
Of course I would. Of course I would. If there was interest and it was appropriate, of course I would. It was a very dear. That was a very, 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 very lovely part of my life. I enjoyed doing it. It was a lot of work. We got really close. I mean, we were close.
Is there anything salvaged from that time?
So it's like, sorry.
Is there anything that's salvaged from that production time?
I don't know. I mean, things that I learned and things that I did went on into other things I'm doing. But Larry is still involved in the new films, and he's got this treasure chest of great stuff that he did for 25 plus years. I'm hoping they're using the material and what they're doing. There's always value in things. It's always even a drawing, even an idea, even and the script was good. It was fun.
So if you was asked to come back and do episodes of series, because there's rumors of they want to expand on the new take from the film. So if you was asked to come back and do a few episodes here and there, would you be happy with that?
If I could be of any help to the group, it would be terrific. I think they've, Todd knows what he's doing. James knows what he's doing. James and I used to have the same manager around the time that I was doing this. And I remember my manager showed me 10 minutes of Saw before they finished it. And I was like, well, this is going to be huge. So, it's in great hands. And, Warner Brothers, I think, understands, when I was making the movie, Midway was owned by Paramount. So Paramount owned Midway, and New Line, which was owned by Warner Brothers, was distributing the movie. Well, you can imagine, that's a political thing going on. So now that it's all under Warner Brothers' roof, and I think with the success of the latest film, and the games have gotten so good, the games are so far from, the games now are a far cry from Armageddon. Armageddon's great, but long distance. They've got a jewel. The whole thing's a jewel. So it's just a matter of how they figure it out.
There's so much there that could pull from. It's just that can they make things coherent enough and not just throw things and hope that things stick? That's what we're hoping for. But you talk about like Todd Gardner and everyone else, and he's he's active on Twitter, and he interacts with the fans. And everyone, like, you know, we all acknowledge him, and we thank him for interacting with us a lot, because he does respond to us, which is really good.
Wonderful.
And that's the kind of interactions we need to, you know, if they want to get us on side, they need to interact with us and get the idea on what works and what doesn't. So hopefully when it comes to, you know, the sequel, maybe some of your ideas could creep in there. Some of the script.
That's very generous of you. I think they need to get them from me, but
I can use it, and like you say, you're available, and you can, if they want you, you're a direct message away.
Thank you, Dave.
This is why I wanted to do the interview with you as well, because I'm one of the type of people that wants to help the franchise. I want, especially this new one, and if I can bring anyone on to help, you know, I'd like for you to go and help.
Well, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Slipped. You know, I want to help, and if I can bring on someone that can help, that's in a better position than I am, then I would have, you know, I don't want nothing in return. It's just the smile on my face, the thought that I'm helping the franchise, and that's what I want, you know, because
I understand.
There's a small part of me that thinks I don't want to wait another 20 years, you know, for another reboot. And in terms of like the film that's just gone past, people have issues with it, but I've actually gone a different route on finding solutions that can actually help remedy in a sequel. So that's what's made me go on YouTube a lot more and do my live streams and, you know, put my ideas forward in the hopes that it, you know, it comes across the right person at the right time. And you know, it's interesting to come across people that have been involved with the franchise before, and, you know, wants to get back in it with it again, and still holds a certain passion like you do. So it's nice to get in touch with someone that, you know, of your, I'm going to say your status, because, you know, because I'm starstruck, you know,
formerly known as, right.
So, but you're expressing that you'd like to get involved again, and I think a lot of people would want that, you know, especially with the old days of the IMDb boards. You know, we know who you are, and it's interesting that, you know, that you could potentially have another chance, say, within the franchise again.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm not privy to what they're doing in any way, shape, or form, but I am in the know in regards to, like, probably how Warner Brothers just sees the value of it. And there's a lot of material that needs to be created over the course of the next decade, and how they choose to create that needs people on deck. So if they need people on deck, that's really great. And they're at kind of, I think the last film, which is kind of ground zero, but a lot of what Larry did prior to that all helped get us there. Yeah. So there's this, it's almost like in a small kind of isolated way, it's like the Star Wars universe. You know, the going to Disneyland and going to Batuu is so far away from what George Lucas was doing in Tunisia in the desert with mirrors and trying to figure out how to make the cars fly, but yet they're related. Yeah. So what Larry did in Thailand with Paul and his vision of doing this movie that he's always wanted to make is so far away from what was on the screen with the latest film, but yet they're connected. And I think that's a lovely place for Warner Brothers to be, to see where they can go with it. And the sky's the limit. I think it can change too.
I mean, yeah, they've definitely got the quality down. It's not like it's you know, like the 95 film with the reptile, where you know, it's dated now. It was kind of almost dated then, but there's a certain love for it for back then. But yeah, with the quality now, they all they got to do is just get the writing right, you know, and, you know, the fans will be happy. It doesn't have to be super deep. These films, they don't have to put all their eggs in one basket. They don't have to do that. If they really want to do what they wanted to do, which is do the Marvel style, you know, plate, you know, do a few films here and there, then lead up to a big event, that they've got so much material there. They don't
Correct.
need to shove everything into one film. They don't need to. It's it's a nest egg, and all they got to do is just leak it out every so often. And you know, they've got a money maker there. You know, there's a money machine ready made. But yeah, I think that's what they did with this incarnation. They tried to go, right, we need to kind of like establish.
Well, they had a significant challenge in the sense that there has not been, aside from a lot of material that's available to the fans, there had not been a significant Mortal Kombat story in the non-game world in a very long time. So they reestablished the rules, they reestablished the ideas, and now they've got a place to start with. And kudos to what they did. It's a very challenging thing to do. And I understand the angst that people feel. It's not this and it's not that. But the sheer amount of work that went into that film is extraordinary. It is no small feat what they pulled off. And they did it pre-pandemic. They were mixing ideas. They went away from traditional ideas, and they brought in people that could actually do the martial arts and let them be the actors. They did a lot of interesting things, and it was all done under a framework that wasn't a Marvel movie budget. It was a much lower budget. It's not talked about that way. So the kudos to them. And now they got a place to start, and we can only hope as fans that, you know, onward and upward, right?
Yeah. Now we want 2.5 to 3.5 hour long movies. So we can
if you look at the first Iron Man, right? So the first Iron Man is the first foray into the Marvel universe. If you look at that movie compared to the Avengers or even Thor or even Winter Soldier, the distance is like, are you kidding me? But the methodology's there. And I really believe that they define the methodology in this film that can be the bedrock language that all the filmmakers and people that get involved can use to talk to each other. The TV show will be great because of what they did in the movie.
Yeah, they've got avenues now where they can actually branch off doing series with certain characters. If they want to beef up the backbone of the first film, they could do prequel series on certain characters to give them give the characters more weight. So when they go back to watch the first film, they can then understand things a little bit more.
Yes.
But again, when it comes to the sequel, I see ways of them fixing certain issues. There are avenues there as well, which I've touched upon in many streams, which I always talk about my streams. If there was a drinking game, on the amount of times I mention my streams, you know, people would probably be dying of alcohol poisoning. There's definitely ways that can go about it in terms of series, new films, bring on new characters. But the only thing they've got to do is just not bog any movie with too much. That's all they've got to do. There's so much information there. There's so many stories they can go down. It'd be interesting to see where they go next, you know. But it'd be interesting to see where they go. And if they can get someone like you on board, you know, I'd be happy personally. You know, it'd be either the movies or a new series. Even if they did a new cartoon series and brought you on board, you know, I'd be happy at the fact they brought you back into the family again, the Mortal Kombat family again. Even music, like say you're into your music, if they brought you back to do some music again, you know, with your connections. Again, it's interesting times.
It's very interesting times, and I wish nothing best for the Mortal Kombat universe. And I think the fans should know. I think the best is yet to come, whether I'm involved in it or not. The best is yet to come. It's great. You know, I remember
there's a lot of people that would have you back. There's a lot of people that would have you back.
Oh, that's cool. I remember I saw the trailer for Mortal Kombat X. It was a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I think the trailer had this. The trailer's got like, it's like System of a Down or Tool or something. And I remember watching this trailer, and you know, and the game at that point had progressed so far from the games that I was working with. And I remember watching the trailer of Mortal Kombat X, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is what we were doing. Like, this is cool. Like, oh, okay, this is how it was gonna feel. Okay,
a more gritty, serious,
but super surreal. super surreal, like really surreal, vibrant colors, a sense of style, larger than life.
What's the gore involved?
It leaned towards some of the great Chinese action movies, like House of Flying Daggers and Crouching Tiger. Like it had a surreal scope to it. We had Cirque du Soleil performers that were involved in doing the choreography and the costumes and all the. I think there was like a fight like almost every 10 pages, and it was big fights. It wasn't just sparring. It was like using the environments and pulling people through walls and all the weapons and all that. So
was they
you see the games, I get excited.
Was the gore back in it?
No.
This is where
you got to wait. Let's go back to 2007. I told this to the fan. I told this to the okay. So we're in 2007. I know it's not a very good year, but we're in 2007.
Some of the fans typing their heads in.
And the gore was not going to sell the film to a global audience because we couldn't get it in the movie theaters. So it was PG-13.
You're going back in time to a place where it wasn't as accepted. It
couldn't be. It was PG-13. And if you look at the darkness of Batman Begins or Hellboy was PG-13. Yeah. If you look at Hellboy, the darkness, that's where the darkness was. It was, we were going to shoot in rain and shadow and mud and slimy surfaces, and people would be fighting in environments. There was snow fights. There was a fight in the parallel dimension where like everything was mirrored like Enter the Dragon, where it was all mirrors. You know, it was a visual, like, holy, you know what, this is what it was. It was very different. There wasn't this sense of the violence was a hyper stylized violence. So if like juggling in the game, juggling had become kind of a thing. And I was like, we have to shoot juggling. I don't know how we're going to do it, but the idea to see a character juggling another character and put it in the movie in an effective way, let's do it.
That's nice.
It's different. It's different. It's totally different.
The mirror parallel universe seems a very interesting element that you've just let go. So, would this be something to do with involving the original cast? Is that where you were heading?
No, it was the games. Okay, I played the games from the first game to where we were, right? And I played the original game in the arcade, and I like 2 and 3. Larry had a Mortal Kombat 3 machine in the lobby at the studio, so we'd play it. You played the game to see, okay, what character am I going to be? Who's going to be the other character? What was the counters? You knew all the moves. You knew the finishing moves. And then the environments they were in, which as the games went on multiplied, there wasn't just 6 environments. It was 18 environments and 20 environments. The environments were part of it. So we were like, well, if you're going to have a film where you're going to have a fight every certain amount of pages, the environments should change too. The environments in Mortal Kombat and what happens in the environments are almost as important as the fighting itself. So we wanted to bring that into the film, you know, give you a visual, like if you're watching a fight at the 10-minute mark of the movie and it's, you know, Johnny Cage versus Reptile. Well, 25 minutes later, if Johnny fights Shang Tsung, we're going to be somewhere else. Entirely different. Not just in the tournament arena.
Not down to one area. Well, I was going to say that it's not really... It's going to be... So basically, the whole film is going to be set on multiple environments.
No, it's the realm. The realm. We were setting up the rules again. There are rules of Mortal Kombat, and they're wonderful. And they stretch back. They stretch back 12 games now.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of when you put rules in a movie, the audience will go with you. You tell them the rule. You can't use ice against fire. Okay, then you don't have to explain it again. So we had all these wonderful rules that Josh Wexler, who was the executive producer at the time, and Larry had set, and they gave me the rules. This is the rule. This fighter can find that fighter. This is that. These are rules that they were working with, and we were going to reintroduce those rules to a new audience. You know, Enter the Dragon explains the rules. Everybody comes to an island. They fight a tournament. The winner is X. We were going to expand these rules. What are the 6 dimensions? How are they intertied? What's the connection between the two? Why is Earthrealm on the edge of collapse? Explain all those things in a succinct fashion with a little bit of information. You know, like people forget Indiana Jones, the whole thing's explained in a chalkboard.
Yeah.
You know, Harrison Ford flips over a chalkboard and goes, see this onk? The light goes through here and then it shines on the thing. The whole movie is explained on a chalkboard 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
We needed to do that because in 2007, the young lady that wanted her boyfriend to go with her to the cinema to see Mortal Kombat Crusade, she didn't know what Mortal Kombat was. Yeah. So she needed to be explained, this is what it is. And so that was what I saw was a beautiful opportunity.
It's just interesting.
I'm going to set the rules.
Yeah, it's interesting the way you talk about it. You say it's not a reboot, yet it's not a sequel, and yet it's like a Batman Begins with some of the original cast. It's very confusing, but it's interesting. And I know you can't give away an awful lot, but me trying to wrap my head around it, because I'm one for plausibility. Things have to be plausible, and you're twisting my mind. I really want to know more now. So I don't know. You can't give more. Good. I don't have the money to get a hitman to get the information out of you, so I don't think I'll be able to get that.
No, I learned I was very fortunate enough to come up in a time in the business where my peers are some of the most inspirational filmmakers in the history of cinema. And I came up in that late 90s, early 2000s, and I got to watch them. I got to watch Sam Raimi, I got to watch Quentin, I got to watch Robert. And the one thing we learned along the way is there's a professional courtesy between all of us. And so I've been extended a tremendous amount of professional courtesy from some of the most creative people that ever walked the face of the earth. And they've spent time with me and we've exchanged ideas. And it's a euphoric experience. And out of the due respect to that, you respect that process. And right now, Mortal Kombat is on its own journey. And there are people involved in it who are at the best at where they need to be. And it looks like, the best is yet to come. I'm sure. And I think it's fantastic that the fans like yourself care enough to want to be involved in it. And it's just great. And I look forward to where are we going?
Yeah. And hopefully they'll go, Mink, fancy coming on board? And you'll be like, sure.
Well, we'll put you in the movie, Dave. You get to walk on, and we'll push you off a cliff.
Yeah, I'm gonna put me down the pit. Yeah, this is my biggest moment.
Yeah, they put my friend in. They put my friend's face on I think it was Spider-Man 3. I think it was Infinity Ward. I'm not sure. No, Treyarch did Spider-Man 3, and they put my friend in the game. So if you play the game, like his face is like a person.
I mean, I can do martial arts. I've got some air tricks that I can do. So if they wanted me to do something,
absolutely,
I could do something.
You could do something. They'll probably shoot it in England, so you can go knock on the door. So it's good.
I hope he's watching. I'm available.
Good.
I'll do it for free. Just pay for my food. I'll be done.
Good.
But it'd be interesting to see where they go from here. And hopefully, they've got you in the back of their mind and think, Mo, we've got this guy. We can get him on board, and he's willing to come on board and give you a call. But,
your optimism is contagious, there.
Well, it's because I'm a Mortal Kombat fan, and I can see that there's ways that they can do sequels and plant seeds for future films. They can do that. I mean, I could spend another 10 hours talking about it. I literally could. But yeah, it all depends if how much they're listening to fans. I know they say that they are. They're listening to the fans, and they've got people on board. Like teams that they can branch out, and hopefully, I'm in amongst some of the people that they're listening to. It's nice if they could get some ideas of mine, because I'm biased. I'm biased with my own ideas. But yeah, obviously, anything that I can do to help and, get people like you back on board, it's a nice
feeling. I appreciate it, Dave. I appreciate it.
Come back and speak to you and hopefully put your name forward. But yeah, it's, again, like interesting times. But, let's get away from Mortal Kombat for a bit. I want to know what you're up to now. What's your latest projects?
First First rule of Fight Clubs: you don't talk about Fight Club.
I knew it.
I'm fine. I'm plenty busy. I got a lot going on. I'm good.
I know we've had to reschedule a few times.
I'm good.
So I know everyone knows how busy you are, which is it's good to be busy.
Yes.
It means you're never going to be out of pocket.
Well, COVID was a challenge for everyone in the business, and so many people have lost loved ones from it. So it's just nice to be back, sort of in a semi-normal situation. And here in Los Angeles, things are starting to get back to normal. And what you do is I stayed creative during the process, and now there's an opportunity to get back to it. So let's get back to it.
Yeah, I mean, during my time off, because I was furloughed during the time, and during those times, I was watching loads of live streams and people's reactions to the Mortal Kombat film as well. And I thought, if I tweet about it, it's just going to get lost. So I thought, I'll do a YouTube channel, get my ideas out there, do something, keep active. Otherwise, I just would have sat down, watched TV, eat pizzas. So yeah, I kept active, put my ideas forward, and it's funny because, like you say, you keep yourself busy and everything else. I've got my little pinky in the door of movie making. I've wrote stories, and one was meant to be produced a couple of years ago, but because of COVID and everything else, production on a script halted. So that's coming back on now. So hopefully I can get back on track with my own projects. So yeah, we'll see what happens now in terms of everyone moving forward.
No, well, that's the beauty of what now. It's really the beauty of what you're doing. You're passionate about it. You've got the platform. You're doing it. I say to anybody in this business, because I do get asked, like, how do you make a comic book? How do you do this? How do you do that? First step is doing it, and you're doing it. So just do it. Just stay on it. Stay with it. Stay optimistic and passionate, and just keep doing it. And before you know it, you'll be like, how'd I get here?
Yeah. It's interesting. So I think we'll leave it here then. And it's been, I'm still kind of like starstruck from talking to you. It's very surreal.
Not necessary. Not necessary.
I mean, talking to your friend Cher, I'm gonna have to give her a shout out, because we spoke a few times as well. She's a lovely woman, and she was telling me how you two met and everything else, and how down to earth you are. And she was saying what I was saying. It's like, you're this big shot who doesn't act like a big shot, and it's like it's very nice to know people that are speaking to people like me,
It's okay.
And I could have done a stream just talking to her, talking about me.
She's awesome. She keeps me together.
Yeah, she's the glue, and it's interesting knowing her story as well. Hopefully I'll speak to her again one day. But I'll leave it here, and I'm gonna thank you all the world for coming on and spending some time talking to me. And
my pleasure. And if anybody has any other questions or whatever, you can find me on Instagram. I'm on there. Just find me, and I'm happy. I'm happy to answer what I can answer without a lawyer showing up with saying, "Why are you talking about this?" I'm happy to do that.
Do you want to give out what your name is on Instagram?
Director Mink. Director Mink on all social media. On all social media. Yeah.
Nice. So there you go. You can find him on the Instagrams. Lovely. Thank you very much, Mink.
And hi to the Realmcast guys for starting all this.
The Realmcast guys, I thank them. I gotta thank them as well, because if it weren't for them,
because they're the ones that plug you. There's the one that. Yes, the Realmcast guys are the guys that drew me out of my cave, my Mortal Kombat cave. So.
Yeah, we've got to thank them. I'm indebted to them. Hopefully they'll have me on talking about the film and my ideas one day. So yeah, thank you very much for coming on. Anytime you want to chat, I'm on Twitter. My number's been handed out. It could be passed your way. And then
cheerio. Am I supposed to say cheerio at this point?
Oh, we can say cheerio. Yeah. So yeah, thank you everyone. Your view is ours. It's not just mine, it's ours. So thank you very much. Mink, been a pleasure. Hopefully we'll continue the chat soon.
Good luck with everything.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, he's gone. Bye.